Well, I think I probably paid too much for this thing. The more I look at it, the worse it gets. It is rough. But this is a 2004 Honda 400EX. We haven't worked on one of these in a long time. But yeah, they're, you know, supposed to be great quads. And every one I've owned is pretty decent. But this one looks like it's been well used. She is very rough. And it has a pretty interesting story. So the seller said that he actually got this one on trade a couple weeks ago. He bought a new battery for it, new gasket kit for it, new chain for it. Was going to put those all on, get this thing running and driving, and decided to go a different route. He found a different quad he wanted to buy, so he posted this one up on Facebook for 1,500 bucks, and we got it for 12. So the seller said he took jumper cables to it, was able to get this thing to turn over, but it wouldn't fire. And he said the seller before him said that it was last running in 2022. You can see the sticker here. So hopefully that's true, and it's not completely locked up or junk. The battery is out of it, so there was no way of testing it when I was there. Basically taking the seller's word for it. So we'll see today. Hopefully he was telling the truth on this one. But looking over the quad, it's pretty rough. Plastics are all beat up, all scratched up. They look original. Kind of just hanging here. Looks like he was probably working on it at one point and then kind of gave up. Seat looks original. There's really not a ton of rips in it, but it's all discolored. Tires aren't too bad. Looks like they all hold air too. Looks like the tires were studded at one point. So somebody probably took this out in the ice, maybe ice raced it. It's got the stock exhaust on there. Aftermarket oil plate there. Nerf bars look old. Got an aftermarket front bumper on there. Looks like different A-arms. Not sure what brand those are. It looks like possibly a new cylinder and piston. I have no idea how long ago that would have been installed, but it's a different color than the head. You can see this one's a lot cleaner. Different color. So maybe there's a big bore kit in it. I'm not too sure. Chain is like extremely tight. I think that's why the guy bought a new chain for it. The sprockets aren't too bad. You can see it's missing the battery. Yeah, I mean, overall, it's pretty bad. A couple cracks in the plastics here. Luckily, these were included with it. Otherwise, these are like over 150 bucks a piece for those side plastics. Nice grab bar in the back too. Little duct tape on the light in the back. So for 1,200 bucks, I guess we really can't complain too much. But today's goal on this one is going to be to get this one running and driving by the end of the video. Obviously, we have our work cut out for us, so we're gonna get going, jump right in, and we'll try to fix this one up. Alright, this one deserves a walk around. Needs a couple close-up shots so you guys can see how bad it is. So, plastics looks like they hit a bunch of trees and just got scratched like crazy. They're really bad. Frame is pretty bad as well. The seller said he pressure washed it before selling it, and this is what it looks like. You can see there's a bunch of gasket maker on the cases here, so I'm guessing it had clutch problems at one point, and I didn't put a new gasket in there, so it's probably leaking oil from there. Is the steering bent on it? Almost looks like it is. No, not too bad. Take a look at this side. So this is falling off. The chain guard. I wonder if there's a crack underneath the case there. The case saver's not even bolted down. Looks like the bolt is broken off. Chain is really rusty. Look at all the gasket maker there. On the base gasket. They probably should have put some on the valve cover here because it looks like it's leaking. But yeah, it's definitely not pretty. So let's get this one in the garage and we'll start tearing into it. Alright, we got this thing in the garage. Let's start tearing into it. So first thing we're going to check is the oil. I'm sure that looks awesome. So let's go ahead over to this side and take a peek. So there's a dipstick right here. Let's see if there's any oil in it. Well, that actually looks really clean. That's definitely been recently changed for sure, because that is extremely clear. Let's see what the level is at. It's at the lower level, but it's definitely changed. Yeah, it's really, really clear. I don't think I've ever seen a 400EX that I've bought with clear oil. So, well, at least the seller changed that. That's good. Curious to see if there's any gas in it. I'm guessing the seller probably put some gas in it. It's actually pretty empty. There's not much in there at all. There's like hardly anything in there. That could be why it didn't fire. It's not getting no gas. So one problem, no gas in it. Good. Alright, gas cap vent is properly venting. That's not plugged up. Let's take a look underneath the seat. Who thinks there's an air filter in here? My guess, no. Alright, the whole thing comes off there. So this is kind of interesting. It looks like maybe they bought a new seat for it at one point, because this is 99 400EX. So is it a 99 seat with a 2004 frame? I'm not sure. But the seat looks like it's in good condition. Not too bad. Alright, airbox lid's still on there. That's good. A lot of times those are taken off, especially with big bore kits installed. You know, these machines just take abuse after abuse after abuse. People just abuse these, don't maintain them. You see a lot of 400EXs just abused. Probably because they just keep running and running and running. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen one that can't be fixed, so let's take this off. Yeah, that's not good. That's not good at all. So air filter is completely off of it. I'm thinking he was probably trying to spray some starting fluid in there, trying to get it to run. But air filter was completely off. Just one of those cheapy air filters from Amazon. Clamp is on there too. So, yeah. Well, it came with an air filter, but it wasn't attached. Oh, look at all the sand in there too. Oh no. Look at that. Oh man, is that bad? That's all sand. Oh, just sucking up that dirt. Oh, look at all that. So somebody was running this without the air filter. And it's dry in here. It doesn't look like anybody was spraying anything. Oh boy. That new top end might be toast. That's a lot of sand. We're gonna quick clean that up with a rag before we go any further, just in case I accidentally turn it over and suck in more sand. I'm sure the damage is done, but can't hurt. So either the seller took it off to spray some starting fluid in there, or maybe it just fell off while he was riding. You know? I don't know. Not good. Yeah, it's pretty dirty in there. So at least the majority of the sand is out. We're gonna have to take that air box off and completely clean it out. But for now, that's fine. Get these plastics off of here. a tank on here yet. Usually those are lost. Alright, so the fuel line going into the carb is right here. It's leaking pretty good. Like crazy. There we go. Ooh. Alright, that's off. There's definitely pretty decent gas flow coming out of there. Alright, let's take a peek. See what that gas looks like. Turn it on. It's filling up. It doesn't look too bad. So we're looking for any water in the gas, seeing if it's discolored at all. Oh, and it stopped flowing. So it was definitely low. Let's see. Those are the settings, so no more gas is coming out. So that's all that was left in there. I think that's on reserve too, so. Yeah, it doesn't look horrible. Looks pretty fresh. So you can see the boot was taken off here. I wonder if there was some type of electrical problem. Must have been checking wires. Solenoid is down here. So one end goes to the positive terminal of the battery. This is ground going right to the frame. You've got your wires going here and then up to the CDI. It was cut here, it looks like, or ripped. Yeah. Those are all connected. Everything looks good there. Here's the main fuse. We can try to take that off and see what's going on in there. Alright. So there's a couple 15 amp fuses in there. I'm guessing one is just a spare. But let's quick check that before we hook up a battery. Alright, let's test both of them. It's nice to have a spare just in case. There we go, that one's good. Both fuses are good. Get your cap back on. Get a jumper hooked up to it, see what happens. See if anything lights up. Negative. Positive going over to here. Alright, turn this on. Let's see what happens here. Alright, neutral light doesn't work. We are in neutral. Headlight looks like it's working. That turned on right away. Cool. A little bit of a delay there. Uh-oh. There we go. So I think the switch was just corroded. Alright, so lights work. Let's see if it turns over here. Definitely turns over. Sounds pretty smooth in there, so the seller wasn't lying about that. Obviously it did not fire. So let's go ahead, get the gas tank off. We're gonna check for spark and compression and see what that's at. I'm guessing compression's low because all the sand was being sucked into a cylinder. All right, coming over to the kill switch here, it looks like there's a frayed wire there, a cut wire there and there, probably bypassing either the kill switch or something else. And then there's a tether attached here. So I don't know if the tether is working or not. We'll have to find that out once we check out the spark plug, but that looks a little iffy in there. So one nice thing about the 400EX is that the valves are extremely easy to adjust. You can see 2 exhaust, 2 intake, and they're right out in the open. Easy access. And then you can see some oil coming out of here as well, dripping right there. And that's very common for these. A lot of times these bolts strip out on the head and you can't tighten them back down. So we might have to do some tapping on the head bolts. But spark plug is right down in here. Oop. I thought the boot just came off. There we go. Take a look at that wire. See if that plug is in there tight. Yeah, plug is in there tight. That's good. Alright, so we'll check out the boot wire and then we'll get to that plug. See if we have any spark. So far so good. I'm looking at the manifold here. Doesn't look like any cracks in there. Definitely an aftermarket carb on there though. So that'll be fun to rejet. And then we'll have to see if this thing is big bored by taking the camera, looking at that piston. Hopefully there's not a ton of carbon on there so we can't see it. Make sure that's good. It's really loose on there. Plug wire looks good. It's chopped off. Just in case, we'll take a little bit off of there. Doesn't hurt. There. Get this boot back on. It seemed pretty loose on there before, so we'll get that really nice and tight. Sometimes you kind of have to push. There we go. Yep, that'll fit in there. Before we check compression, let's check out the cylinder and the piston. So we're checking a couple different things. Checking for scratches because there's a bunch of sand that was being sucked in, and we're checking the size of the piston to see if this thing's a big bore. So let's go ahead and see what we're working with here. Just gonna clean up this lens a little bit. All right, let's see if we can get down in here. A little bit of a tough reach there. Alright, there it is. Lots of carbon on there. You can see. I don't think I can see what the size is. Doesn't look horrible. Let's see if we can twist over the engine a little bit, see if we can get a better picture of what's going on in there. It says MCG on the piston. This is IN right there. Oh yeah, valves right there. Cross hatches on the cylinder look good. Turn this all the way around. Yeah, not seeing any scratches, that's good. All right. The valves might be leaking a little bit, possibly. You can see some oil right there. Alright, overall the cylinder doesn't look bad. The piston doesn't look too bad. Just a little bit of carbon everywhere, but every machine's gonna have that, so I don't think this thing was freshly rebuilt. Alright, so compression on a 400EX should be between 100 and 120 with the decompression mechanism activated. So right now, the decompression mechanism on the cam will be activated as we run the machine. So we are going to hope that it is between 100 and 120. So you can see we should be between 100 and 120, so right in this range. If the decompression mechanism isn't working, it'll probably be over 150. Alright, this thing's on, let's crank her over, see what happens. Oh yeah, it's perfect. We're at like 105 PSI. So that's between 100 and 120. It's not too bad. Alright, so let's go ahead and check the valves next. I want to get these valve caps off first, and we'll go down below and get this thing to top dead center. We can. Oh, I need the breaker bar. Oh. That was on there. I want to strip them out either. Those probably haven't been adjusted in a while. Man, those were tight. See if any of them, yeah, those feel good. They're all clicking. Let's see if they're within spec though. Here's the top cap, so we can see the mark for top dead center on the flywheel. Let's get that crack free. Came off pretty easily. Sometimes those are really stuck on there. And then this is going to be a 10mm cap here, so we can turn the crank. Oh, that one came off pretty easily too. Alright, then I believe it takes a 17mm. We're going to rotate it until we see a line with a T. What we're working with. Okay, slowly rotate this over. There's a line there. There's F. And there's a line with a T. So if you zoom in here, you can see it pretty easily. Hopefully you guys can see that. Line with a T right there. Now, we're gonna make sure we're at top dead center on the compression stroke. So all these valves should be loose here. Yep, you can see there's clearance between the valve and the rocker on all of them. This one feels a little bit tighter than the rest, but exhaust you can hear pretty clearly. Alright, so intake valves are going to be set to 4 thousandths of an inch. Exhausts are going to be set to 5 thousandths of an inch. Let's check them. Let's see what we get. Pretty good. Pretty perfect. All right, let's go to 5 thousandths for the exhaust here. Let's see what we're getting. Yeah, pretty good. Just scrapes. So all the valves were set correctly. All right, so far things are looking pretty promising. The cylinder and the piston look okay. based on the camera view. The compression is within spec, the valve clearances were good, and we have pretty good spark. So let's move on to fuel. Let's check out this carb. A lot of times these carbs come with aftermarket jets that aren't correct, so maybe the pilot is way too small for it, and that's why it wasn't firing up. One clamp here. That was pretty loose on there. And then one here. I think we're just going to take out the whole air box. It'll be easier to get the carb out anyway. Plus we have to clean off that boot. Hung up on something. There we go. Clean that off later. Should pull right out of here. Yeah, that was pretty easy. And then we can get our throttle cable off. Long screws in there. There we go. So this carb has an accelerator pump. Let's check and see if that was working. So we should be able to see it. Well, the choke was on. Through there, squirting. I don't see any gas squirting through there. I don't think the accelerator pump was working. Nothing squirting out. This whole carb screws off. Go. Alright, carb is free. Let's take a look on the inside. Alright, get these vent lines off here. So one goes from the nipple here to the back over here. And the other one just goes from the side here. We'll have to see if those are unplugged. Alright, I'll take off the bowl first. See if it's clean. Alright, and then there's a big screw here holding on the throttle adjust. And come off. There's a little gunk way down in there, but not horrible. Oh, it's squirting out through there. I think it's squirting the wrong way. It shouldn't be squirting in there. It should be squirting out through here. See, it's squirting out through there. That would be the wrong way. So maybe the diaphragm's in incorrectly. Alright, let's take a peek. So far everything looks pretty good. It'll be interesting to see the main jet in here. It's been a while. Let's see what's in there. I cannot tell. Let me quick brush that off. Yeah, see, the problem with some of those Amazon carbs is they don't have the jet number on them. So I have no idea what size jet that is. So we'll probably just put the stock ones in, or just leave it, we'll see. We could always leave it, see how it runs, and then rejet from there. But yeah, I have no idea what size jet it is. Right, let's take off the float here. Pin pushed through nicely. See what that needle looks like. Float looks good. Needle looks good. Alright, maybe the pilot has a marking on it. Does the pilot have a marking? Nope. Let's see if it's clear. Oh, she's plugged. Yeah, she's really plugged. So pilot's plugged up and there's no marking on it whatsoever. So no idea what size that is either. I'm guessing it's probably stock, but I have no idea. And then I'm looking at the fuel screw. There's no way of turning the fuel screw either. See that? It's like capped off. So I guess we're just going to leave that. But typically you want that like 2 turns out. Alright, so not much we can do with the carb. You know, the jets are not marked at all. So let's take a look at the diaphragm next on the acceleration pump. And the seller included a new carb. Not really sure why, but we might install that. Maybe they have the correct jets in there. Yeah, it looks like it was in correctly. It should push out through here. Yeah, it can really only go one way. Let's see if that's broken at all. No, it doesn't look like it. Alright, so maybe it was clawed going up. So the pump pumps it up into this passageway here and then out through here. See that little nozzle? So what we can do is just spray some brake cleaner in there and see if it spurts out. That will tell us if that passageway is clear. So stick one end into here, spray it. Yep, it's spraying out. Alright, so that's clear. That's good. So that passageway was clear. So yeah, overall the carb didn't look too bad. The pilot was a little bit clogged and we have no way of telling what size jets are in it. Other than that, it's pretty clean. But we'll let that sit in the ultrasonic cleaner for a little bit. And while we do that, we're going to go and check out the new carb that was included with it. Maybe it's a little bit better of an Amazon carb. Maybe it has the jets in it. Alright, so looking at the brand new carb here. Came in this package. And it looks like there's a jet in here. What does this one say for the size? What the heck, it's not marked at all. Why are none of these jets marked? New spark plug. NGK. Alright, so we're going to be using that spark plug. That came with it. Cool. Put that in. Let's see what these are. Oh, and a filter. So it must have been, oh, and brake pads, what the heck? Alright, well. So he did buy quite a bit of things for it. And what are these? Uh-oh. These are new piston rings. Ooh, that's a bad sign. Why would he buy new piston rings? Oh boy. Huh. Yeah, but those were included too. New piston rings. Standard. Does he know something I don't know? It's on there already, so I might just use this one. That way we don't have to clean it. Okay, let's take off this cover first. Alright, let's take a peek in here. Lines look good there. Alright, let's take a look at the bowl. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Main jet. Not marked. I hate that. Can't even tell what size. Let's take it out and compare it to the other one. Yeah, they look like the exact same size, so we can put that back in. So what we're going to do is just throw the new carb on. I'm guessing those are just stock jets in there. And we'll see how it runs with that. At least it's clean already. Just going to clean out the inside of this boot here. Little WD-40. We already cleaned out the inside over here. And we'll blow that out with the air compressor and we should be good. Let's make sure our air filter is all cleaned out. Just gonna kind of blow through that. See how much sand comes out of it. Oh man, not great. Alright, so we got that air filter cleaned off, blown off, all the sand is out of it. My guess is that somebody forgot to oil it up, so we're using some of this Tusk air filter oil, and we're just going to spray that. I would be extremely surprised if that top end is still good. I'm guessing those rings are worn down, and this thing probably smokes a ton, is my guess. And that's probably why the seller got rid of it, is my guess. But could be wrong, we'll see. We're really hoping it doesn't smoke, but I'm guessing it does based on the condition of the air filter. Alright, now we're going to work that in. Now they'll stop any sand from going in. On the lid it says front right here. here we go, brand new plug going in. Same exact kind. Well, I think we're ready for the first start attempt. So we pretty much checked over everything you can check. Oil looked good. We topped that off. It was a little bit low. We drained out the gas from the gas tank, even though that looked good, and we filled it up with fresh fuel. Valves were perfectly within spec, the valve clearances, and we have good spark. We put a new spark plug in, and then brand new carb. So there's no reason this thing shouldn't fire up. Let's hook up a battery to it, and we'll see what happens here. So I'm gonna make a prediction here. I bet this thing just smokes like crazy. All right, choke it. Here we go. Likes to choke. So far no smoke, but it sounds like it's knocking pretty good, doesn't it? Doesn't sound the greatest. And it's not idling or revving out. So far it's not sounding too good. Yeah, it's only running with the choke on. It revs out for a little bit with the choke on and then just kind of dies off. So we might have to stick some bigger jets in there. All right, we got the carburetor back apart. I tried turning out the fuel screw, but that did nothing. We're gonna try to change the jets here into the stock ones because I have no idea what the jet sizes are on this Amazon carb. So we came up here, we found the stock jets for it. So this is a 148 main that we found, looking through our pile of jets, and then a 38 pilot. So we're gonna install those and see if that helps our idling issue and revving out issue. I think the ones that were in it were just a little bit too small. We'll see, it could be a timing issue as well, we haven't checked that. All right, stock jets are in, let's see what happens now. Alright, I still think it needs a bigger pilot. You can see you kind of have to feather it and then it revs out. So 0 to 1/4 throttle is that pilot. It's running a lot better 1/4 throttle with the choke on. So that tells me that we're still lean at the pilot. So we're going to bump up the pilot to probably like a 45. See what that does. Alright, we've got a 45 pilot in there. Let's see what happens now. Yeah, it's still having issues. You gun it full throttle, it bogs. So we're gonna check the timing next. It's leaking from the valve cover anyway, so we gotta do that. So before we go any further, let's check that. And I found the oil leak as well. You can see it's leaking right out of this bolt here. So that's not good. You can see it's just leaking out of there. Leaking quite a bit of oil. We're gonna have to fill that back up. Before we put the impact on them. Oh, that was loose. So we have one stripped out already. That one's loose, that one's stripped out. Whoa. It's really hot. Had a gasket underneath there. Looks like it was new. Ah. Well, I think we found our problem. Holy. That's why. That's crazy. Check this out. Look at the cam. It's like worn off on this side. Look at it, it's like flat. Same with that one right there. Look at this one. There's like a flat spot right there. That should be perfectly round. I wish I could show you guys a little bit better. Oh, there's a good picture of it, kind of. I don't know if you guys can see it. Look how flat it is on that side compared to the other side. Alright, coming up here, we're going to be checking out the timing here. So, as you can see, the lines in the cam are perfect. There's a line right there, parallel with the surface of the head, and a line right there, parallel with the surface of the head. You guys can see in there. See, that line is perfect. And then coming up to the lobes should be pointing down. Yep, that's perfect. Cam chain, nice and tight. That's perfect. Ooh, it looks like there's some JB Weld. Huh. It looks like, did they bypass the decompression mechanism? This is like a different cam. That's interesting. It says some numbers right there. Huh. I wonder what cam that is. But you can see there's a bunch of JB Weld blocking something off there. Alright, so on the cam you can see WB1870. So this is a White Brothers cam. So this is an aftermarket cam, and it looks like somebody bypassed the decompression mechanism, because usually there's a spring right where that little bolt is right there, and there's usually another mechanism on the cam that activates that decompression spring. So we were only at like 105 psi with this cam, which is crazy. And I think the lobes on this cam are probably modified to be steeper, which means that it would have more top end power and worse low end power, which is probably what we're seeing with the throttle response. I think the throttle response just comes on late with this cam, is what I'm thinking. If anybody else runs these, let me know what you guys are running for jetting, and if you even have to rejet. I mean, everything else is stock, I believe. I don't know what the piston is, but the pipe, the airbox, air filter, and the carb are all stock. So I wouldn't think you'd have to rejet, but based on the performance that we were seeing out of this thing, it seems like we might have to rejet. Oh, there's definitely flat spots in that cam. I'm thinking that's probably the issue. Unless it's supposed to be like that. But you can feel like different levels of this cam. And then this one's really shaved off right here. I mean, that's crazy. It's almost like pointy right there. Which maybe that's supposed to be like that, you know? Yeah. Or it could just be really worn. Let's check out the center one here, see what that one feels like. Yeah, there's a couple flat spots right there. So, I don't know, very, very odd. But timing checks out, cam chain checks out. So I'm gonna take a tap and just go through and try to clean up these threads. This one's stripped out, you can see, and I believe it's, which one? One of these is, we'll find it. All right, taking a look at the rockers, those all look fine. All moving freely, not locked up. No significant wear on anything. So, yeah, those are fine too. All right, we got a new gasket here. We're gonna put a little gasket maker on there as well. But this is gonna go on just like that. All right, valve cover is all back together. We got a little gasket maker on there, and we fixed the strip bolts. So hopefully it won't leak anymore. All right, while we're waiting for the gasket maker to dry, let's address this chain. It is extremely tight. It looks like somebody cut it too short maybe, because it is really tight. Here's the case saver. That's seen better days. I don't really see no broken cases at least. This is an old O-ring chain, and you can see all the O-rings are like really brittle. Everything's falling apart. It's really bad. Good thing we're replacing this chain. Take this off, pull that through. All right, new chain going on here. Here's part of the chain that's broken off. All right, we got the new chain on, that's all tensioned up. All right, let's go ahead and fire this thing up and try to figure out where those oil leaks are coming from. It's coming from this. It's leaking from, I think, the top one here. So we're gonna take these off and replace the O-rings in there. Nope, wasn't stripped out. It's gotta be the O-ring then. Maybe both of them are bad. There's some sand stuck behind there. Let's see. Could definitely be the O-ring. Oil's just pouring out of here. Probably have to do an oil change anyway. Let's see if I get it above there. Doesn't matter. Alright, there's the other O-ring. Not seeing any issues with the O-ring. Huh. Why the heck was it leaking out of there? Well, we're gonna replace the O-rings and hope for the best, I guess. Alright, new O-rings installed. Alright, the drain bolt is right in there, you can see. Let's go ahead and crack that loose. Hopefully that's not stripped out. Looks like it might be. Let's see. Oh, there's just a gasket on there. Lots of oil coming out of there. Right underneath the oil tank, right there, is the other drain. Lots of oil in there too. It looks like it was a little bit overfilled actually, because a lot of it drained out too, so maybe that oil pump's not working. We'll have to see. But the oil capacity for a 2000 Honda 400EX is going to be 1.8 quarts. So we're going to put about 1.5 quarts in, start it up, and then put the other 0.3 quarts in. We'll just see. We're using 10W40 wet clutch oil, like that, so get that poured in. Alright, now we're looking for any oil leaks here. No leaking yet. That's good. Alright, we're going to fill it up with the rest of the oil and check for leaks again. No leaking yet. So I think those O-rings fixed that problem. And over here, looks pretty dry. Just remnants of old oil on there. So I think our oil leak problem is solved. Let's rub this thing out a little bit. Well, no more oil leaks. So what we're going to do is put everything back together and take it for a little rip and see what it's doing. We'll bring the jet kit along to the land, and if we have to rejet it, we'll rejet it. But right now, all there is that tiny hesitation before it really revs out, and I'm thinking that's from the cam. But we'll see. We'll put everything back together, test her out. Get a new battery installed. Alright, it's all back together. Let's see how it runs. Alright, I think we're ready for the first ride. want to stay running like just like surges like that? Oh, what's going on? Well, first ride really didn't go as planned. It's running really good from half throttle to full throttle, but as soon as you dip it below the half throttle, breaks up, backfires, shuts off, randomly surges. I mean, it sounds really bad. And running with the choke on is even worse. So I tried replacing the pilot in there, thinking maybe the pilot was too rich. I came down from a 45 to a 38 back to stock, and it did nothing. I checked the fuel screw, and that did nothing. And I played around with this for another 4 hours probably, trying to change jets and just test it, and we were having no luck at all. Kind of leads me to believe that there's something else going on with the quad, and I'm kind of leaning towards that cam. We saw that the lobes were pretty flattened off, and I'm thinking the lobes are just really worn out, just affecting the fuel-air mixture ratio and causing issues. The only question I have is, you know, if it's a cam, would it run good after half throttle to full throttle with a bad cam? Something's going on. The only other thing it could be is probably the coil. Maybe it's only sparking good after half throttle. So high revolutions maybe make it spark better and run good. I don't know, but I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think in the comments below? Please leave your suggestion. If you guys have had a similar issue with the Honda 400EX, I want to hear from you. So next video, we're gonna try to order up a new cam, new coil, replace those, and see what the heck happens. Hopefully it runs a lot better. But hopefully you guys enjoyed picking this one up for 1,200 bucks, diagnosing it, doing the first start, and doing the first ride attempt. Next video, we are going to attempt to get this thing running good and make it reliable. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for next video, and until next time, we are out.